Hi, my name is Drew Daniels, and today I'm going to be talking about the theater of the absurd. So what is the theater of the absurd? The theater of the absurd attacks the comfortable certainties of religious or political orthodoxy. It aims to shock its audience out of complacency, to bring it face to face with the harsh facts of the human situation as these writers see it. But the challenge behind this message is anything but one of despair. It is a challenge to accept the human condition as it is, and all its mystery and absurdity, and to bear it with dignity, nobly, responsibly. Precisely because there are no easy solutions to the mysteries of existence, because ultimately man is alone in a meaningless world. And this was said by Martin Esslin in his essay Theater of the Absurd, which was published in 1962 and serves as a guide for absurdist theater. So some major themes of absurdist theater include that human life is pointless and devoid of meaning, that human communication is innately flawed, and that vanity is the largest issue plaguing humankind. So some characteristics of the theater absurd is futile acting, trying to manipulate or to act against fate, miscommunication or lack of communication between characters, unstable characters, world bent on destruction, a purposeful lack of plot, odd and unnatural movement, and use of small talk, repetition, and non sequiturs. For example, in the play The Bald Soprano by Eugene Ionesco, all the characters do is sit and talk, repeating themselves until it sounds like nonsense. In this case, repetition is used to show the problems of verbal communication. So where did absurdist theater come from? In terms of philosophical influence, the basis of the theater of absurd is founded on ideas put forward in Albert Camus's 1942 essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. The myth of Sisyphus put forward the idea that the human situation is absurd and devoid of purpose. Historically, absurd theater probably stemmed from World War II because of the extreme hopelessness that many Europeans were feeling during this time. So many war atrocities, such as the Holocaust, were being committed that people felt like there was no purpose to human life at all. So some modern plays with absurdist characteristics. The Pillowman by Martin McDonagh features an unstable main character who attempts to control fate. 4.48 Psychosis by Sarah Kane includes an unreliable narrator and a lack of clear plot. And Occasionally Nothing by Natalie Mena includes a post-apocalyptic world and a ton of small talk. So some themes of the modern play. One theme of today's theater is an exploration of political divisiveness. Some of the key divisive issues we find ourselves arguing over today make appearances in hit plays. The issue of immigration is almost center stage in Lin-Manuel Miranda's masterpiece Hamilton, which centers around an immigrant becoming one of the founding fathers. In addition, Hamilton also revolves around a political rivalry between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, which gets in the way of progress. Politics also had an impact on absurdist theater, but in a completely different way. Absurdist writers were deeply affected by World War II and chose to let their socio-political surroundings influence their ideas and views of the world, which they presented in their plays. Not quite in their plot line, but in the whole takeaway that everything is meaningless. Another common theme in plays today are LGBT rights and inclusion. Shrek the Musical, for example, features a transvestite wolf and an ogre being accepted into society, although he looks and behaves differently than the other fairy tale creatures. Never before have we seen such an increase of openly LGBT and diverse characters. Throughout time, theater reflects the issues that we face in society, whether it be the issue of a major war making people feel hopeless, or the acceptance of those that might be different from ourselves. So today's theater, in terms of availability and production. Due to advances in portable and accessible technology, theater can be viewed from just about anywhere. This is a direct contrast to times before the smartphone and the laptop, where theatergoers actually had to go to the theater in order to see productions. Thanks to this modern era, we have the ability to create, produce, and market an immense number of plays. Globalization has also allowed for theater subcultures in many different countries to intermingle and influence each other, whereas the theater of the absurd was mainly a European subgenre of theater. The quality of tech aspects of theater have also become more advanced, such as costumes, makeup, and stage construction. So, an example of an absurdist play is Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. It's one of the most popular absurdist plays. In this play, two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, wait for a man named Godot who never comes. Godot sends a message to relay that he will be delayed, but that he is coming. In the end, Vladimir and Estragon have had enough, and they say that they'll finally leave. But by the time the curtain comes down, they still haven't left. This is meant to be meaningless so that it can be open to interpretation. This is in direct contrast to works such as The Crucible, which is about the Salem witch trials as much as it's an analogy about McCarthyism. However, this dual meaning also limits the play. Beckett's Waiting for Godot means everything precisely because it means nothing. Another popular absurdist play is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. This is perhaps one of the most popular, least obviously absurdist plays. Albee depicts a volatile couple, George and Martha, in contrast to a young couple, Nick and Honey. George and Martha play games with each other inside the confines of their home, but in this rare occurrence, they invite someone else into their home. In the end, it is made clear that Nick and Honey are simply a younger version of the older George and Martha. The younger couple's infertility issues mirror George and Martha's own. The absurdity that exists within the older couple's house is the absurdity that awaits the younger couple in old age. The uncontrollable forces of nature not only cause this infertility, but also facilitates the passage of time foreboding their existence. So for production techniques, first we have staging. Due to the surreal nature of absurdist plays, directors tend to utilize abstract and minimalist methods of stagecraft in their productions. When staging absurdist plays, the staging of the set, actors, and props are usually minimal with very few set pieces. One example of this is in Waiting for Godot, under the direction of Asmus Walter, who only used one set piece while the rest of the stage is completely empty. This allows the audience to be engaged in mostly the actors' performances and not to be distracted by sets. Another production technique is lighting. Production designers usually use lighting in a way to help drive the story forward. They can use lighting to help illustrate the tone of the play as well as the emotions that the characters experience. Lighting is often minimal but helps the audience focus on where the action is taking place. If the tone of the play is dark, it would use dark and colder colors and vice versa. If the characters experience joy, then the lighting would be brighter and warmer. However, if they are sad, then the lighting would be darker and cooler. Okay, and that sums it up for our presentation on absurdist theater. Thank you very much.